Welcome back to Green Disruptors, Scaling the Future. I'm your host, Megan Kjar. Today, I'm joined by Ravi Kiran Polepeddi, co-founder of Sustainium, a purpose-driven software company making carbon accounting more accessible, affordable, and impactful for businesses of all sizes. Ravi brings a deeply personal perspective to sustainability, drawing from his upbringing in India, where circular economy principles were part of everyday life. In this episode, we explore how Sustainium's platform empowers companies to move beyond compliance, leverage AI for education and automation, and make real operational changes for both the planet and their bottom line. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Green Disruptors. Today, I've got Ravi Polepeddi on with me, and he is the co-founder of Sustainium. So hi, Ravi.
Hello, Megan. Thank you for having me here and, for the opportunity to show what we are building and how we are contributing to the field of sustainability through our Sustainium platform.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more. So first of all, tell us a little bit about your background and then who Sustainium is.
My background, I was born and raised in India, in Hyderabad, the southern part of India. Spent, one half of my life there, one half of my life abroad in the UK. Like most of my, I think 15 years I've spent in the UK. So I work in the IT sector and I've worked in the hospitality industry over there. I've worked in the cybersecurity industry over there, worked for a few startups. And then right now I'm in the UAE, in Dubai.
Nice. Yes. As a lot of growing businesses are.
Exactly. Good place to be.
Yeah. So tell us how you got into the idea of carbon accounting and how Sustainium was born.
Yeah. So just going back, a bit of a background again about myself. So having been raised in India, I've seen my ancestors, in fact, my grandmother, my aunt. Nowadays, you hear the term circular economy, which is being used everywhere. But that is something that was practiced since ages. I mean, even if you go to the remote villages in India, you will see everyone doing that. Like the waste they generate is almost zero. And any organic waste that they generate, they convert it to a manure, it goes back into the soil, and there is almost like no waste. So this is what I saw growing up, wherein everything was reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I guess that culture I inherited, and I've been thinking of how to contribute to the field of sustainability for a while now. So fortunately, my wife is from the same background. After I met her, I was quite curious to understand what sort of work they do. And most of the times I see the same principles that I am familiar with being applied in the modern world of sustainability. So a few years ago, I saw her, having a hard time trying to do this carbon accounting exercise as part of ESG and the larger term sustainability. And then just like I was speaking to her and some of the other ESG professionals in the vicinity, and we felt there is a need for a robust yet affordable software which would solve their pain points. Instead of them spending all of the time on spreadsheets, etc., to do their work, just have a software, dump your data into that, let it do its job, or your job, and it will just calculate the footprint, and it will give it to you whatever reports you need, whatever data you need, whatever the format. So that's how it started, and we are where we are now.
Yeah, you said a lot of interesting things. I think going back to what you said about the way you were raised, Asian cultures did this because we didn't have a global supply chain, and so they had to use what they had. And maybe lack of resources is a reason that happens, but we're in a very different environment now. But finding the need to do these practices, so it's neat that you had that background.
Yeah, I mean, it also helped that I started working with Ajay, who I have known for a long time, who's the CEO of Sustainium, and who is also the CEO of 12th Wonder. And 12th Wonder is also based in US. It's been there for a long time. I mean, it's been there for 12 years now, and he really encouraged me with the idea of creating Sustainium, because we felt like we would add value to the society by doing this.
Yeah.
So a big thanks to him.
Yeah. And then I was going to say one other thing, like the whole practice of using spreadsheets and complicated data tracking to do what Sustainium can do kind of automatically. I mean, that's very costly for companies. And I could see, if you have all these ESG requirements, it's like you have to hire a full-time employee just to do spreadsheets. So you're solving a big problem for them.
Exactly. I mean, you can talk about it in two ways. One is where small and medium-sized enterprises, or probably smaller companies, which cannot afford a sustainability consultant, and a software like ours comes at a fraction of a cost when compared to how much you would pay a sustainability consultant. I mean, I'm not discounting the benefits a sustainability consultant would bring to the company at all, but in smaller companies, it just wouldn't work. Like
that's a luxury.
Yeah. Like all they need is to understand what the carbon footprint is, and that can easily be generated using a tool like ours. So in that case, it really helps. And speaking of slightly bigger companies wherein they have an in-house sustainability consultant, well, we are saving 60% of their effort and time. So they can actually focus.
So they can look into other avenues.
Other things, exactly. So that's how it would help.
Yeah. So can you help me understand how companies are using this emission data to go beyond just compliance, but to actually make big changes in their operations?
So beyond the compliance, yes. So it helps companies understand what their emission hotspots are. I mean, obviously you need to have the data. So through the tool, you have gathered the data. So what next, right? So I think a lot of companies have already started to act on the data that they have captured. With respect to this aspect of ESG, I think you can call it as decarbonization. Once you have the emissions, how can you cut down on your emissions? Now, it is not just a matter of cutting down on the emissions just because you want to save the environment. It will also reduce your operational costs, because the tool is giving you the visibility to look into which aspects of your supply chain are more intensive with respect to your finances as well as the environment. So you have gathered the visibility. I mean, you have the visibility by accumulating all of the data. Now you can act on that. And that's one side. The second side is by showing yourself as ESG conscious organization, you are attracting investors. Okay, so nowadays you will hear it a lot, like green bonds. I guess that's one thing. You want funding from big banks. If you're a big company, you show your ESG initiatives, and you would get funding or loan at a much lower interest rate. So that's the other angle. And the third angle is, depending on the nature of your organization, you want to attract more audience. You want to attract more stakeholders. Like, say for example,
absolutely.
You're a fashion industry, a fashion company, and if you're showing that your initiatives, you're adopting eco-friendly initiatives into manufacturing the clothes or whatever the output of your organization is, like people nowadays, at least the modern generation is very eco-conscious or environmental conscious. So they'll just go to your brand and they'll buy more of your stuff. So the more organizations adopt these practices, it works in a multifold way.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of companies adopting these practices only for that reason. And so the fact that you can also increase operational efficiency and you can lower your carbon footprint, like it's a win-win-win all around.
Yeah, exactly. And attract more investors.
Exactly. Yes. So what do you think is missing right now and how most businesses are approaching their carbon accounting?
I think you said earlier about, the compliance bit. So most people want to do it purely for the sake of compliance, like that visibility around, okay, what is it beyond the compliance? That the strategy to create or the strategy that needs to be there to showcase that visibility beyond compliance is missing, and the specificity of it is missing. So, just use a tool and or get an in-house sustainability consultant, get your data, calculate your footprint, create a report, and disclose that report on your website. That's all people tend to do. At least most of the companies, that's what they want to do, because they just want to, do that checkbox exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, the strategy is missing, like the longer term strategy for them to cut down on their emissions, save more money, because people are not seeing longer term. So what is missing is the long-term thinking. Probably that would be the answer.
Yeah, and we're not great at that as humans, but I think this whole climate problem is forcing us to at least try.
Exactly. And that's one thing we want to do through our tool, and I hope other tools do it too, wherein you give this visibility to the organizations and also to the worldwide public to show like how the impact of an organization or, as a society, you're impacting the environment. So if tools can do that, then it will have a big impact on us humans. Okay, you will see now if I keep doing this for the next 10, 15 years, we are going to have 15 wildfires instead of 2 or 3 wildfires, which we are having once or twice in 2 years.
I like putting it in that direct language instead of just saying like this many emissions, like you're going to literally cause this many more wildfires,
Exactly.
which accelerates the problem because then there's more carbon in the air from the fires and it's just a
Exactly.
vicious
Yeah.
circle. So yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit if you don't mind and talk about AI because I mean this is the big thing right now. So what do you think AI automation integrations with ERPs, like what's that going to do with scaling in this space, do you think?
I would really want to use AI, at least, in our platform for mass education, wherein anyone who's using a platform, it is not just for tracking they are not using our platform just for tracking their carbon footprint, but what is the impact of their activities. Okay, and to educate them about what exactly their data is. Like you've entered the data just for the sake of entering data. Again, going back to the checkbox exercise. But what exactly, going to the most granular level possible, what does this mean for your organization? And speaking of the other side, wherein smaller enterprises which don't have in-house consultants, they will have no clue about how to do carbon accounting. So we have built our platform to be intuitive enough so that anyone can use the platform and understand what to do with the platform so that they can get their ESG report so that the carbon footprint of their organization is calculated and shown to them. And everything is explained to them to the lowest level possible
I love
through
that
AI.
because yeah, I think that's really important because not everybody within a business is a data person. Like the data
Uh,
is essential, you have to have it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not everybody's brains work that way. So if everyone in the company can be on the same page about what this actually means and what the impacts are, then they will do a better job of educating their shareholders and the market at large, which I think
exactly.
is very good for your brand and your PR as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of AI, and the second part of AI is to enable the rapidization of data gathering. Right now, it takes weeks, if not months, to collect all of your data at an organizational level for you to, disclose your carbon footprint. Now, all you have to do at the beginning through at least through our platform with AI usage is you connect all of the systems like minimal setup during onboarding, and that's it. You do it once, it's a one-off exercise, and data will keep flowing into the system, and where needed the data can be flown out of the system into your systems as well if needed. But just speaking about the Sustainium platform, like all of the data is there in one place. You can see all of your emissions in one place. Like I said, it saves weeks and months for you to get started and have that visibility around, okay, where are my emission hotspots? Where can I cut down? Who can I engage with? Who's a better eco-friendly supplier that I can engage with as an organization?
Yeah. Well, I think that speed is really important because it's easy within a business and the day-to-day operations to get distracted because there's a million things to do always.
Exactly.
So if
Yeah.
you start trying to figure out, what your footprint is, like the sooner you can find out, the more people are going to be,
Exactly.
proactive and actually following
Exactly.
through with a plan.
And the other thing is, with a lot of consultants, you have this issue of data inaccuracy,
Yeah.
because ultimately, if this is going to be a manual exercise, you will have inaccuracies at some stage, especially when it is done at a large scale. If you're thinking of a complex organization, so that's where AI will help you. It will flag data inaccuracies in your platform or in your organization's data. So
Hmm.
that's the other use case of AI which we are working on.
That's exciting. So let's talk about Sustainium as a business and where you're at in terms of growth and maybe what do you see as exciting in the future, but also what are the current challenges to growing and scaling?
Sorry, can you Can you repeat
Yeah,
that question
so
again? Yeah.
let me break that down. I asked too many questions at once. So, where is Sustainium right now in terms of growth?
We have passed the what do you call the market valuation market
Mm-hmm.
evaluation stage, wherein so you I think in the business terms they call it as a you you test whether your product is fit for the market. So that has been proved, and we are looking to scale now, wherein we are trying to reach out to more and more consultants, more and more organizations to try and onboard them and to try and
Yeah.
get them to use our platform.
So, what are you finding is in terms of these conversations with businesses? Like, maybe what are some of the friction points? Like, because yeah, it's hard to be here and to be scaling and to showing people really what the true value is to them. So, what is that process like?
So I think lack of urgency. I mean, I sense a lack of urgency on behalf of the businesses because, like I said, if you're doing this as a checkbox exercise, most people will be okay. If there is nothing mandatory right now forcing me to do this, why should I do it? So what we are doing is when we speak to any company, any organization, we show them, of course, with assumed data, not exact data because we don't have that exact
Right,
data.
because you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, we have benchmark data of your peers. This is what they have done using our tool, and this is how they have saved. I mean, in terms of finances, in terms of emissions, like how much have they reduced their emissions overall, and how and how that is helping them in terms of their branding. You show all of this, and then it makes the argument more convincing because you're showing actual numbers, you're showing peer data, so it will really help when speaking to a new organization or a new prospect.
Yeah. Is there an ideal type of business that you're going after initially?
There is no, I mean, like I said, our aim is to enable every business sooner or later to do carbon accounting. So at least make them aware of the benefits of doing carbon accounting, understand what the carbon footprint is, so that if not now, at least in the long run, it will really help them. And in the short term, it will definitely help the environment.
Yeah. So this doesn't have to be companies that are making an actual physical product. This could be because every organization has a carbon footprint, even if they're not in
Exactly.
manufacturing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not an organization. It's even us. Like every individual, you can do your household carbon footprint as well. Like ultimately, that is something we want to do as well. Wherein you go to our website, you enter some data, and it will give you the carbon footprint of your activities, of your
Oh,
household activities for a month. And you
that's
can
neat.
see, okay, just like the if you have these banking apps or your credit cards, they show a pie chart showing you've spent this much on entertainment, you've spent this much on groceries, etc.
Hmm.
So similarly, we want to show your footprint by each of those activities.
Yeah, I think that's really important because if you're not aware of something, there's no way that you're going to make any changes.
Exactly,
So awareness
exactly,
is the first step, personally and in business.
exactly. I mean, you can call it as carbon accounting is, it could be the diagnostic step of sustainability.
I like that. Yeah, the kind of in medical terms, people
Yeah.
need a diagnosis before they make a
Yeah,
plan for
yeah, yeah.
treatments.
I mean, unless you use metaphors, most people will not. If you want to nail the point, for a lot of people, you have to use metaphors.
Yeah, well, as a branding storytelling agency, you're speaking my language now.
Thank you.
So, we titled this episode Trace to Transform. So, tell me what that means to you as a principle behind the company's mission.
You can refer to it as a mantra. So unless every organization adopts this mantra, wherein you first trace your data, I mean, you first trace your footprint, understand what is the impact your organization is having at a larger scale on the environment, and that impact is measured in terms of the carbon footprint, at least at the core basic level. It is in terms of the carbon footprint. You trace the data. Once you've traced the data, you transform the data by adopting meaningful measures so that you reduce your emissions and thereby transforming your organization's impact on the environment.
Yeah, I think that's a great mantra to have and a good underlying mission of the company. So, is there anything else that you would like to add or tell us before we wrap up here today?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I want every responsible human on this planet, to look around them, understand where there is heavy environmental damaging activity, identify it, flag it, and take necessary measures by making people aware of their actions, make our planet a better place.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to understand that this doesn't mean that we all have to go back to the dark ages. Like there's a lot of solutions now that are more cost effective, that
Exactly.
maybe better use the technology that we have. You just have to be able to be aware of what those are, and maybe some switches that you can make. So it's not stopping to do any activity, it's doing it in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, you've already got platforms which show you, if I'm using this is the alternative which has a lower carbon footprint. So that's already happening, and you have the data at your fingertips already. So you just need to look at these viable solutions and adopt them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ravi, and congratulations on getting Sustainium to this point where you're ready to scale. I wish you the best of luck. And
thank you, Megan.
We'll hope to hear of you more broadly as things continue to grow.
We hope so too. Thank you, Megan, and thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, my pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of Green Disruptors. A big thank you to Ravi Kiran Polepeddi for sharing Sustainium's vision and mission. If you're a business looking to move from checkbox compliance to true environmental impact, Sustainium may be exactly the partner you need. For more insights like this, make sure to subscribe, share the episode, and follow us on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Green Disruptors.